This is the BBQ Beat Podcast with Kevin Sandridge, session number 3. Here we go.
Do you love grilling up a good meal? Looking to be the king of the cul-de-sac?
And sharpen up your low and slow barbecues and smoked food skills?
Whether you're a professional or self-proclaimed, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the BBQ Beat with your host, Kevin Sandridge.
Hey guys, thanks for joining this podcast and taking a listen to this episode dealing primarily with the marketing and selling of food products. I want to reach out to as many people as I can at all levels, and this call is really good for anyone who has been thinking about developing or marketing a food-based product. Maybe you already are developing and creating and selling a product, but you'd like to know how to take it to the next level. Well, guys, you're in luck. I've got with you today Tim Forrest, a senior advisor and CEO of Tim Forrest Consulting. Tim is a consumer strategist with more than 30 years experience transferring food-related businesses through marketing and sales innovation. All right, Tim's experience goes the gamut. He's worked with Disney theme parks, Major League Baseball, and the National Football League. He's placed items into places like McDonald's, Walmart, and all of the major grocery store chains, along with helping clients raise around $20 million in funding and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales for his retail clients. Why I have Tim on this call today, though, is that Tim knows what it's like to start small. He started out loading food trucks. He got a job in the food sales industry, ended up working his way through large organizations like Unilever. So he understands this and has a special place in his heart for working with folks who might be on the smaller scale, right? Maybe that's you. Maybe you fit the mold. I mean, literally, he loves working with people that may have nothing more than a family recipe and a dream. So, guys, let's just get to it. Let's get to this call. I think you're really going to enjoy what Tim has to share. So here we go. Hey, guys, it's Kevin with the BBQ Beat podcast, and I'm really lucky today to have with us here Tim Forrest. Tim is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to the food industry and developing products and marketing products and getting products into the hands of everybody from the person who visits at the local fair and wants to buy, the things that you're developing for cash, all the way up to working with multi-million-dollar corporations. And I'm really excited today to talk about how he can use that experience to steer new people who are just trying to get their feet wet in marketing a barbecue rub or a sauce, and use that experience to guide them into the right direction. So, man, Tim, I am so glad to have you with us today. How are you, man? What's going on?
Thank you, Kevin. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. I'm excited to share with your listeners and the folks in the barbecue world some of my experience. I started out loading food trucks 30 years ago, and I've been involved in a lot of food projects over the years, and I've had a lot of success, and I've learned a lot of things, and had a lot. I've obviously also had to go down had a lot of issues and problems and stumbles, and all those areas though help me to share with my clients to help them to grow and be successful.
That's awesome, man. So let's just dive right into it, man. I can't wait. I want to get rolling. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the food industry.
Yeah, very very quick and simple. I was loading food trucks and ended up, a friend of mine said there was a job opening for sales for I didn't know at the time that they were the largest food company in the world, but Unilever. And I ended up getting a job in sales, a territory sales manager in the food business for the state of Georgia, and just worked my way up and ended up promoted and recruited into other food companies. Ended up with Nestle and got involved with ended up as a sales. Then fast forward a few years, and then was part of a turnaround team with Borden, and then had the opportunity to start my own consulting company 18 years ago. I've helped clients sell millions of dollars. Over the course of my career, it's been in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and I've worked with my clients include billion-dollar companies, governments, just all kinds of enterprises, agricultural co-ops. At the same time, I'm just fascinated and have a blast working with smaller folks, and even people with just a recipe or at their kitchen table, they've got an item like say a chicken salad or something that they want to bring to market. And I've done that repeatedly, taken non-revenue newbies, as you might want to call them, that not really ever sold anything. And we've had a lot of success. And from my track record, some really incredible successes actually from just starting with nothing.
Man, that's so exciting because so many people, they find out that there's someone like you out there, right? And I get this when I go to approach somebody for an interview, and I'm not quite sure if I'm at that place in my career as a blogger or a podcast guy or whatever, and it's like I'm going to ask them if they want to talk with me, but I'm not sure. I know they're busy, whatever, and I'm sure you find some reluctance sometimes from people who know you're out there, but they can't really believe you want to stop and talk with them.
well, I mean, I'm surprised when I hear that. But I do. I mean, some of my clients do. They're like, particularly like Nadine. She was one of the first. She's just so polite, so nice, and she's like, I can't believe you agreed to help this housewife take her family's kitchen, chicken salad recipe and bring it to market. Just little things like that. But they are impressive. The people I've worked with, the brands, the international projects, they are. I'm kind of blown away because I was loading food trucks 30 years ago. So I was literally pushing a hand truck in the back of a retailer where recently I was on their corporate jet just a few years ago, and I was asked to lead a project for them. But you got to remember, I guess it sounds like a long time, but 3 decades ago, I was pushing a hand truck in the back of one of their locations, and then fast forward 25 years, and I'm putting together an itinerary for their corporate execs and teaching them about the food business. So that's, it kind of blows me away when you look at it from that standpoint. It's been an exciting ride, and there's been a lot of things that have happened.
Yeah, that's a story I think everyone can relate to because everybody starts somewhere, and so many times we forget that. So thank you for making sure you let people know that everyone starts at the starting place, and that's a different spot for all of us. So, the topic today is dealing with how people in competition barbecue or people who just love barbecue can take their sauce or rub recipes from the cook trailer or the kitchen or from granddad's or grandma's kitchen and move it into the marketplace. Can you talk a little bit about how you would advise someone in this position to head down this road in the best way possible? Like what kind of things will they need to take into account and be ready for, get their ducks in a row so they can make sure they're moving forward in a logical and kind of fruitful progressive path?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of pieces and moving parts that go into this. But number one, you want to be prepared and start selling right where you are. So think about your current network, your current situation, your current resources, any of your current fans, your current social media. So where you are currently is where you have to start. It really is that simple. It's not like, someday I'll have $1 million or someday I'll be in a different city or someday I'll do this. You are where you are right now, and that's where you start. So begin selling right now, right where you are, and get an understanding of what the market is like.
Yeah, as you were talking, man, I just thought a favorite quote of mine, a favorite saying that I share with people when they talk about kind of wondering, humming and hawing. I said, look, if you want to be, do. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Just jump into it and make it happen. That's awesome. So what are some of these parts you're talking about? How can we go ahead and start moving forward?
Okay, well, start thinking about products that you want to sell. And think about what is it you're going to sell to the people you know and the people you come in contact through your website, through your, if you don't have a website, then through your Facebook page and through your trailer and the events that you go to. What sort of products can you sell to the fans that come by? And how can you capture the information so that you can sell to them in the future? The easiest way is to get their email address, and that's what I would suggest. And then also at the same time, try to get them to like your page, get some specials. But you want to sell to them, and you don't want to sell to them like you're a grocery store. You're not Kroger, you're not Publix, so you're not trying to sell $1.99 anything. You want to sell them something they're only going to, it's going to be difficult for them to see you again. So you want to make sure that you get a good retail. If you're selling food on the internet, the average, we can look at the numbers on the internet. The average food sales from a food website online is $55. That's more than double the average grocery store, cart that people check out. They run in the grocery store, check out. Online is $55. So my suggestion would be is to have something, some sizable retail. Sell something for $20. Have a special pack for $35. Think about a $55 retail of something that includes. It might be some sort of a package. I'm not really sure what it would be, but think in terms of those kind of revenue sizes, that kind of a ticket size, so that you're not going to have lots of customers. You're not going to have millions of customers day one. So the customers you do have, make sure they're productive. They're also going to be the customers that probably are going to be closest to you and care more about your product than most anyone. And as well, they'll also share. They'll be early adopters, and they'll probably be very likely to share with their friends and family how much they enjoy your products.
Yeah, so what you just finished saying, coupled with the fact that you want to make sure you're capturing emails, you're having a way to connect with people, even past that initial meeting that you just mentioned, because like you said, you may not actually see these people again. That made me think of the situation with blogging or having an online website of any kind. One of my concerns is always making sure I'm trying to reach out and build relationships and rapport with people.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Does that factor in with what you're talking about?
Absolutely. That's 100%. You can do that now with the size that you are, but you will not be able to do it as well when you get to a larger size. So when you're selling, say, 10,000 jars or 10,000 units of rub, you're not going to have that relationship with a customer and those consumers that you can have now. So you want to do everything you can to lock in that relationship and have a powerful, branded, fun, connected relationship as much as you can with those customers now that you can, because they're going to help sustain you as you grow and get beyond the personal connections into those business connections, those retail connections, as you start to move into retailers and to larger chains.
Yeah, that's and that's the key. It's so easy to imagine where you want to be and forget that critical time period where, like you said, you're reaching out to the people in your initial sphere, in your neighborhood, so to speak. And I don't mean neighborhood like your actual street. I guess you could sell to Miss Johnson down the street, but we're talking about if you always compete in a certain region, that's your starting spot,
right.
And you're going to be, definitely. All right, so sort of getting to the heart of the matter as far as the products we're talking about here. So we're talking about specifically, barbecue rubs, so spice mixes, but we're also talking about sauces. And I have my own thoughts about maybe the directions you're taking for both, because it may not be the exact same process in terms of maybe starting from home, but I want to hear it from someone with some actual experience. So I put that question to you. With both of those categories, how can someone kind of start small in the best way?
Yeah, well, we just talked about personal selling, and so we start off with personal selling to everyone you possibly can, and then the next step beyond that is going to become jump into retailing, and then I have found a lot of success in this area, taking people to have them begin fundraising. So they go to their local school, their church, or some other civic organization, and they put together a program. They mimic other fundraising programs where they put together a special deal where the organization would sell their product. And so this is a form of personal selling, but you're starting to branch out and get other people to do that for you, and they're going to share your brand. So after you started and got a feel a little bit for the personal selling from your standpoint, I think the local retail that you are personally affiliated with, along with fundraising, are the next two steps. So what's local retail, Tim? Well, for one, the convenience store you go to, the hardware store you visit, if there's some restaurants that you have a good relationship with that you think might carry your product, just anything, any retail places that you visit in your community that would be open and would agree to carry your product that you can personally load in the back of your car or truck and get over there to them. And that's kind of the next step, I think, is that local retail that you can get to along with the fundraising piece.
Okay, that's awesome. So But before we get to where we can go local retail, we have to develop our actual product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are people. I'm envisioning someone listening to this podcast right now and thinking, all right, but I've only made my own personal rub mixes that I use at a competition, or I've only whipped up my own sauce as needed when I need it. But can these people start their production of their product from their home? And again, we're talking about rubs and spice mixes, but also sauces.
They need to look up, in the state they live in, they need to visit the website and look up Cottage food laws for their state. And so pretty well most of the country, many of the states in the country now have jumped on this bandwagon of supporting small food entrepreneurs. And so there are going to be Cottage laws that tell them the rules on their particular product. So there's going to be opportunities for them to make product in their home and actually sell it, which that's new and changed, but it definitely depends on the state and it depends on the type of product that you want to sell. So there's a lot of detail there. So they need to go visit their state website, and what they're going to look for are the Cottage food laws.
Okay. Great. So, and that'll cover whether you have to have like a clean kitchen for sauces versus working out of your home,
right,
or so on and so forth. Okay, great. All right. So they move into a situation like you talked about with local retail selling. I love the idea of kind of going into the mindset, kind of like when people are starting to invest in stocks. Well, you start with the products you buy, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
You're talking about heading out to the places that you frequent most often. If they're able to get a foothold in that area, right, are they able to then, if they find they need to ramp up production and it goes beyond what they're able to do themselves, are there people out there that specialize in
absolutely
helping them do that?
And so the way it kind of happens is that you start doing it yourself. But really, as you grow, the number one thing you need to be doing is marketing and talking to consumers, not making the product. So you can make the product, but at some point in time, you're probably going to get to a position where you might rent a commercial kitchen, but you're probably going to outgrow that quickly, particularly if you're working with consumers and building a following. And so once you outgrow the commercial kitchen, you've got the choice of, am I going to build a little mini plant, or am I going to go find all the available capacity that's available in the industry? There's so much capacity where people have built their plants and they need additional volume, and that's where there's an opportunity for you to move in go visit with those people either through an email or phone call, and then go see them and put together a program where they actually manufacture. Once they've run their product, they've got this plant that's not in use, and so they would like to have your capacity, your product within their plant, and take up and utilize some of their capacity and offset some of the costs of having this plant. So that's why almost every plant in America, there's so much capacity available, and it's just a matter of contacting them. So whatever your product is, look for, Google similar products nearby of similar size company and see about the opportunity. One of the first things you want to ask about batch size or kettle size. And there's a lot of detail about thinking about co-packing, contract packaging. I've got a lot of information on my website, but in a nutshell, you want to think about your ingredients. You want to think about getting a non-disclosure agreement. You need to have your recipe, convert that to a 100-pound recipe yield. So if you were to take all your ingredients, don't think of, 1 gallon of this or 2 cups of this and then a pound of sugar. You need to take everything, all items on your recipe, convert it to a yield of 100 pounds and convert everything to pounds, and then that'll be your commercial industrial recipe. You may or may not want to give them the full recipe to your contract packager. You can just supply them the spices as a separate ingredient, and where you combine it separately, then provide it to them. Or if you're not concerned about that, you just give it all, give everything to them and let them make it for you. But there is a way to kind of shed or shelter your recipe a bit if you take some of the key ingredients, particularly the spices, and kind of not let them really see what goes into that or the recipe of that. But that's in a nutshell. And then you get them, then you get an agreement and go forward with them and be sure to participate and have very strong specifications on all the ingredients that go into it. And you're going to have a label and package design. You're going to have a label design. You're going to need to put it on a bottle or a can and, and go forward. Keep it as simple as possible at first, and go with a sticker label. And, that's a real brief outline of the contract packaging piece. But there's a lot there. And if you go to my website, timforrest.com, and just put in there private label or package or contract packaging, I've got several articles on my site that go into a lot of detail here. Or you can send me an email, tim@timforrest.com.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think you really hit on something that sometimes can maybe raise some hackles. I mean, you can imagine the response someone might get if they walked up to someone's cook trailer, right, at a competition and said, "Hey, can you give me the exact recipe for your sauce that's been helping you win grand championships for the past year?" Right? You're going to get like a big, hell no.
Right.
And hopefully after the hell no, but you can buy some, right?
Exactly.
But we get into a situation where, people might be a little sensitive, like you kind of referenced about giving away the full recipe. You did mention a non-disclosure agreement, and I was just curious, I mean, how prevalent at all is it really to have your recipe kind of swiped from you and remarketed? I mean, aren't these co-packers and these facilities so busy with their own stuff that they really probably don't even have the bandwidth to try to
they don't
heist your stuff?
They don't. Yeah, they don't. They're not really into that. But there's people that are concerned about that. So that's a way to do it. If you are, that's a way to do it. I mean, you can have all the agreements in the world as well, and it's not fun to defend in any kind of a situation like that. But you do want to have you can go ahead and put those in place. But generally, exactly what you said, they're so busy with their own issues and their own company, they're not going to be jumping out there to begin marketing your product as well. So it's that's not. I haven't really ever seen that as any kind of an issue to be concerned with. You need to be concerned about it, but it's not something to be overly worried about it or I've had people that don't even want to have their product manufactured. They're fearful. They have a product and they don't even want to bring it to market for fear of the competition finding out about it. I mean, it's just ludicrous. So you need to go forward and march forward and go towards your goals. You can't just you can't take away all. You can't remove all of the issues or problems. You can just do the best you can with what you have and move forward. You can't remove 100% of the risk. Is my point.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, I've struggled with in the past, if I have a good idea and I'm like, oh man, how do I get it out there? But, it just comes down to the fact or the question, are you going to operate from a position or a mindset of lack or a fear, right? Or are you going to have a mindset, of abundance? I mean, I don't want to have turn this episode into a warm and fuzzy guru show, but I mean, I think it's just as simple as that, and realize that, ingredients aside, there's so much more into a product. I mean, hopefully you've made enough of a personal connection with your customer base where you're developing that relationship and they like your product. If your product's a good product, I mean, they're really buying into much more than just the product.
Exactly.
And look what happens with the culture, like with sriracha. I mean, people are wearing sriracha T-shirts, and it's a cult following almost.
Yes.
So yeah, totally. All right, so one of the things I always like to touch on when we're talking with folks is an idea of kind of what your growth path has been. You've talked about your background, working with loading food trucks all the way up to where you are now, but I think it helps people shed some light on maybe some things that they're working through on their end, especially someone like we're talking about now who's thinking about really starting their own business. So, I mean, what were some of the setbacks that we can go a couple of different ways, maybe that you've faced, but that you've seen maybe people trying to launch a sauce business or a spice mix business, and how were those overcome?
Okay, we'll just talk about my consulting business first. I started my consulting business, and for the first 5 months, I had zero revenue. So I was without revenue for 5 months. So once I got that, earned that first check, that was a big deal. I needed that. So that's the first thing is don't jump off. Even if you have, even if your product is going to be fantastic and is going to be successful, realize it's going to take time. And so don't don't put undue pressure on you on the revenue side, thinking or having expectations that aren't realistic. And so even if it is fantastic, even if all your friends and family buy it, even if you're doing, well with it, make sure that you don't have unrealistic expectations or you're putting too much hope into the actual business model of what you're going to jump into and what you're going to do. So that's probably from my experience, that's one issue. The other, just thinking about it, it always takes longer than you can ever imagine. So many of the big, I've sold I've had purchase orders for more than $1 million in product, and it doesn't come easy. And to give you an idea, it took 2.5 years of effort to get that PO put together. So if you can imagine the stumbles, and during the 2.5 years, there were times that I thought I had lost it. There were major negotiations and issues and problems that had to be overcome, and to stay with it for 2.5 years is unbelievable. I've had more than 12 items on QVC television, but and tens of thousands of people want to get that kind of exposure for their products. But you have to remember, the first product, it took me 5 years to get the first item on QVC television, and so that's not easy. That's not something that just happens. The same thing with with all my learning and everything that I've done. Recently, I worked on a project, and I was able to take an idea to national distribution in Walmart and Target. So basically, there was no product, there was no packaging, there's nothing, and I was able to take that to national distribution, and we did that, in 18 months. So, if with my 30 years experience and everything that I've done, it's taken me 18 months to make that happen. That's not something that someone with little experience is going to do faster than 18 months. So that's probably one of the biggest things. One is know-how. You need to have someone that has done it before that can help, that I think can provide you kind of like the path or the roadway. That is so helpful. And then along with the expectation on time, everything takes time. It takes often longer than most people can imagine. And the reason that is they don't understand the steps. They understand, well, if I call them and we agree to it, then it should be easy. But even if a buyer tells me, Tim, I'm excited, we're ready to buy this, let's go with it, I understand all the necessary work and steps so that to get on the shelf, it's going to take a lot longer than just someone saying yes on a phone call or yes in a meeting, and then I get to walk into the store next Monday and see it on the shelf.
Yeah, and I can hear when you're talking about the work you've done. It's not just, I'm a big player in this industry and, I know it all. It's, you've worked with, and I just want to make sure that everyone listening to this episode understands that, you've got a level of experience that is vastly impressive, but you also are able to nurture and walk people through the levels of, what has to be done in a way that, just like you said, as far as freeing yourself up from producing to marketing, right?
Yes.
You're freeing them up from worry, so they know, yourself or someone that they're working with, you have this mindset. I mean, you've got the ability. Tim's got this, right?
Yes.
He told me he's got this. I'm going to go focus on that, right? Yep. And that's huge. And I can sense your passion, right, for this business. And man, I don't have to tell you what kind of passion is involved with someone's baby, a product that they're bringing about. And I just in the world of barbecue in general, I mean, these guys don't go slugging it out. Guys and gals don't go out slugging it out on week in and week out, because they're all raking it in, right? I mean, their blood, sweat, and tears is going into this stuff. So, in that vein, right?
Yep.
Tim Forrest, I want to know what gets you most fired up about the business that you're in right now.
Helping people live their dreams. If they have a dream, when I can relate it to someone I know or someone I'm talking to, and they have a dream, and I can believe in that and be supportive of that and help them, that's exciting. That's fantastic. I mean, that just is it doesn't get any better than that. And then at the same time, if we can make some money and do a good job and then get authorizations, get on the shelf or get on television or or help them. My clients have gone on to write books and do very well, have a high exposure, win national awards. If you go and look at some of the awards my clients have won with their products, it's pretty darn impressive. And so all of those are fun. But there again, just to see them to be successful and to do a great job, I'm thrilled for them, and I have a blast doing that.
That's awesome, man. So, all right, we're kind of nearing the end of the time we have here on the call, and I've got this thing I'd like to do with you here. I like to call it the lighting round, right? Just a few questions that I'd like to run through with you. And the first one is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Wow, the best piece of advice I've ever received. Oh, okay. The best piece of advice I've ever received, one of them is pricing. Pricing is a self-esteem issue, not a business or market issue.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Don't let others, if I'm reading that right, don't let others or other factors necessarily lock you into a certain price.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. All right, so how about this one? What's a personal habit that you feel contributes to your success?
One of them is it's called the 10 ideas. Every morning I have a notebook and I write down 10 ideas. It doesn't have to be business ideas, but many of mine are business ideas, product ideas. But I produce every morning 10 new ideas, and it has helped me unbelievably. I'll give you an example. It's so crazy. Last year, towards the end of the year, in my little 10 ideas, I said, okay, I need to get on it. I need to get my retreat. I do a retreat, and I said, I need to finalize my retreat, get it organized, and put it out there in the world and get it going. I don't care. Just set a deadline, get the product produced, and put it out there. And so now I'm going on. I just finished. Here it is, May. Here we are in May, and so I've done 4 retreats this year, and I just finished one this week, and we had a blast. Just to give you an idea, it just blew me away. After retreat, it turned out was a international touring rock band called Washed Out, which I'd never heard of them, but it was an exciting time, and they're friends of a food company owner, and they wanted to come to the beach and enjoy the time here, so they participated in the retreat as well. So it's just incredible. But that came from simply doing my 10 ideas. And there's so many other things that have occurred as well as a result of that. That is just so powerful. It's hard for me to share with you how powerful it would be for anyone listening if every morning they would write down 10 ideas. Now, I'm not saying this is not tasks. This is not goals. This is just 10 ideas. It can be anything to help them grow, improve things they're thinking about. It doesn't matter, but just do that as a practice, and it's really unbelievable what it's done for me since I started doing this over the course of the last year.
Right, so it's important to remember this isn't a to-do list, right? It's
Correct.
not a task list, things I got to take care of. Oh, I got to do this or that. It's a let your mind go, kind of get in touch with maybe your creative flow and let that go. That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. All right, so that kind of leads me to my next question. Then, what's one, I don't know, tool? It could be technology, it could be otherwise, or business resource that you found has been very helpful to you.
A business resource has been helpful to me. Well, obviously, having a blog and writing has been pretty incredible, and that's really led to so many of the different things and a lot of the projects that I've worked on. It's just starting and putting it out there, but. Probably the number one thing, though, the number one tool is writing down your goals, getting a piece of paper and just putting down some goals on that paper. That is it by far. I did an experiment when I first bumped into this idea when I was much younger. I'm not sure when I did it. Maybe late high school or in college. Sometime in college, I got out a piece of paper and I said, this goal stuff that I'm hearing or reading about I just don't know if I believe this stuff. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it really works. I don't know if these people are just blowing smoke. What is this goal stuff everyone's talking about? Because I said, I'll work hard and I'll do fine. And so I said, well, I'm going to try this. So I got out a piece of paper and put down about 14 goals on this piece of paper, and then put it and pinned it to the little bulletin board over my desk. And I just let it sit there, and I really didn't think much about it. And then I came back about 6 months later, and then I went down the list and started marking out everything that had occurred, and almost 75-80% of everything on that list had happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. This goal stuff is real. There's really something to it. I'm not really sure exactly why or how it works, but I do understand more about why it works, but it's really fascinating and unbelievable, the opportunities and the things that can happen when you just simply sit down and write down your goals.
So you just mentioned kind of when you first started, with your consulting business, if I'm correct, and that's what you were mentioning. We all have things that are holding us back. We talked about this already, right?
Yep.
If you want to be, do, right? But when you were making that transition from working for a company to becoming more or less an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
What was, if you can just, what's the first thing that comes to your mind in terms of something that was kind of holding you back from just making the leap?
Well, I mean, one of the things is I was working, I worked for some of the biggest companies in the world. So leaving a company car, leaving an expense account, leaving big salary, benefits, all of that. I mean, there's just no way to logically walk away from that. So it was it's very difficult situation when you are comfortable and feeling great and just very well taken care of, you to make a decision. And that's one of the things that to go forward. And I really I don't consider even though I've helped, I've done so much, and I don't think of myself as an entrepreneur at all. I think of myself as a creator. Almost think of myself really as an artist in the food business, but we're getting very philosophical there. But
I love it, man. It's awesome.
But I do enjoy work. I mean, I am a business guy, and I do totally help people start business and go forward. But at the same time, I don't really think of myself as an entrepreneur, even though, I am. I guess I am. I guess you do call that, but that's not. I definitely don't think of myself, in that light. It is just. But I am, and I've been doing this for 18 years, and there's been a lot of ups and downs and positive, and it's been fantastic though as well.
Yeah. So what finally got you to make the leap? I mean, I understand the fear and the hesitation.
Oh, well, what got me to make the leap is a trick. I mean, maybe a trick I played on myself, but there's just no, Borden, in a nutshell, I came in, did a turnaround. We were able to sell once we made the business profitable, they really just wanted to sell it. So they came in and basically fired me, but they fired my boss. The new owners came in and fired my boss, and then about 2 weeks later they fired me. They didn't need me. I was part of a turnaround team. So I'm out looking for a job, and I approached this company about an opportunity and a job, and they're like, well, we don't have any jobs open, Tim, but if you can make that happen, we'll pay you a royalty ongoing on that opportunity. And so I'm like, okay, that's I'd rather have a job at the time, but if that's what what we have, I'll take that. And so I worked it, and then they sent me a check, Tim Forrest, the Tim Forrest consulting company, and then I tried to deposit that in my personal checking account, and they're like, Tim, you can't put this check in your account. This is a business. And so I had to run around, and within 24 hours, I needed that money. So I ran around town and set up a business, and went to, just so happened I was in the state capitol. So I ran over there, got the paperwork, for a business, and got everything signed. And I was back at the bank bright and early. Well, I don't know if it was early. It was, I think, later in the day, but I was at the bank the next day. And as fast as I could possibly be there, and opened up a checking account and put my business check into my new business checking account.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So, I mean, like, they talk about being, necessity is the mother of invention?
Yes.
Right? In that case, there was a necessity, and you had to start inventing.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's awesome.
But my father owned a very successful business, and he did very well, and it's that I've not really ever thought about it as being beneficial, but he actually started his business almost in the exact same way, in that just some of the similar situation. He really didn't set out to be an entrepreneur, be a successful business person, but the opportunity was there, and it basically occurred. And I've thought a lot about that. And really a lot of it is, you're so smart. The odds of success of being an entrepreneur, there's so much, there's opportunity, but it's so difficult, when you start thinking about, okay, I've got this comfortable job. It pays me. I can just go on. But, the things that have occurred, I would never, if I had not had my own business, the things that have happened to me being with governors of states, me working for the federal government, me working for foreign governments, me getting to travel to South America, having clients in Canada, me getting to go to Germany, working on projects in Serbia, me going to Croatia or, any of those places and doing this for work and just doing all these incredible things and being a part of all this would never have happened if I had not taken that opportunity, to go forward with it.
So, some people might say, oh, well, that's the benefit of hindsight. It's all great. I don't know. And I think it's just a matter of the recipe's a little different from everybody or for everybody. And, I think the first step is really, making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who have a mindset of positivity. They're supportive of you and what you want to do. And the benefit of actually moving forward with something that you're truly passionate about, you just outlined it for us, can be immense. Let's see, one last question for you in this. So this hasn't really been a lightning round. This is a discovery. I love it. It's fantastic. The last thing here, if you could recommend just one book, for the people listening right now, what would that book be, and why does it come to mind as being important?
It'd have to be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it's just the advice and guidance in there. It's not that book is not a get rich quick book. It's not necessarily about money, but it is about actions and how you think about your life and the things that you do. And it talks, and a lot of the things that I've learned. I read that book a long time ago, and I just recently implemented one of the things that directly came from that book. If you go to my website and you look on there, it says my board of advisors. That is directly from that book, like so many other things are. And I just asked my friends. I was a little fearful to ask my friends, hey, would you be on my board of directors for my company? It's like, what happens if they say no? What is it going to do to my friendship? But everyone was like, oh yeah, sure, Tim, no problem, whatever, no big deal. It was nothing. And so, but I was scared, and I've been fearful to ask them literally for years. The average person on my board of directors, I've known them for at least 30 years or longer. And so, I was like, well, they're my friends. Do I really want to ask them? But there's so many issues like that in the book of how important it is to overcome your fears, overcome the concerns, overcome your self-esteem issues, and to go forward. And it's just so important. And that book is really probably the genesis of all books in that nature to help people and to go forward. And I think it'd be an ideal book. That people should read, but it just helps you with action and taking action. That's number one.
That's awesome. I've talked to a few people recently, and they're at the point where they're just trying to get ready to do more in the world of barbecue. And the thing about an outdoors or kind of I don't know if you want to call it rugged or whatever. It's very kind of like there's a bombastic nature, right, yes, to barbecue, and sometimes it can be a little bit daunting when you're looking at the people who are doing well out there, and they have these kind of larger than life personalities, and you think, God, I mean, I'm just a guy that's trying to get started. Who am I to really just put myself out there like that? And I think a book like what you've talked about, and I think I've read Think and Grow Rich now about 3 times over the past 15 years or so, and it's something I too find something I go back to. But that's awesome, man. That's really, I think, finding that confidence and that voice within yourself that's like, you know what, I've got my own thing, and I've got my own vision, and like you said, surround yourself with good people, and you're setting yourself up for success.
Exactly, Kevin.
So, Tim, is there anything else that we haven't really covered in this discussion, something you may have going on now, something you'd like to just mention or reference that we could, or that you could share with us today?
No, I mean, we've really covered a lot. I mean, if it weren't for the being in business and being, self-employed, I'd never be able to I wouldn't live at the beach, and I definitely wouldn't be doing my island sunrise photographs. I always like to plug that. But it's at islandsunrises.com. But also the main thing, though, for people who are going to care about for their business, there's so much on my website at timforrest.com, TIMFORREST.com, that they should go there. They should sign up to get all my future posts as well. But they really, there's so many articles there. I mean, we can go into, barbecues, but I actually helped one barbecue group get into the North Carolina Museum of Natural History. That's a long story, but there's so many opportunities to get your brand out there and to go forward. And you need to be who you are and take advantage of your background and your likes and go from there. And that's really the key, and have a lot of fun and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, barbecue really is all about history in so many cases, family history. So, the thing that I think people who are listening to this right now is, all right, well, this Tim guy sounds like someone I might need to talk to. How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm involved. I'm involved with many of my clients for a long time, and I've been in the food industry. So a bulk of my work is taken up there, but I'm happy and I enjoy working with new people, and I very much would love the opportunity to talk with people. If you go to my website, timforrest.com, I've got a call, Ask Tim. I've got a program where people can actually call me and talk to me. And this has been awesome, Kevin, talking to you and the folks there. And I'll be more than happy to do a double program. So the pricing that I have on there is for 1 hour. And we could break that. I mean, we can literally break that up into 3 or 4 phone calls, and I'll double the time to 2 hours for that 1 hour price. And I think, we can talk about whatever they want to talk about, discuss about growing their business. I'd be more than happy to talk to them about issues on marketing, label design, getting a UPC, FDA labeling requirements, all those sorts of things. And for anyone that does that as well, I'll throw in, we haven't talked about this, but I'll throw in I have ready for the FDA package label design. Anyone that does that, I've got a kit for your label design so that you meet the requirements of the FDA, and I'll send that to them as well if they want to take advantage not only of the double time, but also I'll get them a copy of the kit. The kit's available. You can buy it on my website, and they can get that separately. But I was just thinking about that as we're talking. I'd be more than happy to do both of those. I'll double the time and then also send them the labeling overview so that they're within the requirements of the FDA.
That's awesome. And just so everyone's clear, what's the price they're paying for spending this time with you?
The time, my call-in program, what I sell that, people pay $200 for 1 hour of time, and I'm going to throw it out to your people so they'll get 2 hours, and then we can do that over multiple phone calls so that we'll have some homework, and they'll have some questions, they can take action, and then we'll revisit again and see what kind of results they had, and then discuss kind of next steps so they can go forward.
Awesome, fantastic. And you said, in addition, you'll offer them the kit that helps them with labeling and getting the nutritional information.
Correct.
All set with the FDA. That's fantastic. Yep. That's really great.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, Tim, it's been awesome talking with you. Guys, Tim is someone that you really want to reach out to. And like I said, and I've said in the past, the barbecue beat itself, the mission statement I put out there is something that really is all about sharing what's good about barbecue, but it goes deeper than that. I mean, I hear what people are into and what they want to know about, and this phone call, this conversation with Tim today, really, it took place because people have asked me questions like, man, I really want to get started with bottling my own rubs and sauces. I don't know where to start. So I hopped on the internet and did some searching, and I found Tim, and that's why I'm here. So if there are any other things that you guys want to know about, you got to let me know, because then I can help you. Help me, help you, That's the old saying goes. So don't be afraid to reach out to me. I know you get a lot of lip service sometimes. People say, oh, yeah, just let me know what you want to hear, and we'll get right on that. And it never really materializes. And while I can't promise to touch on absolutely everything that comes my way, I mean, if you're passionate about something, you want some help, you need some information, I'm going to do my best to find resources like Tim to come on to the show and to help make sure that you get that. So guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Hopefully you guys have gotten some value out of this call. Let me know. Touch base with me through my website, barbecuebeat.com, bbqbeat.com, and we'll make it work out. So that's it for now, guys. We'll talk to you soon.